All right, bro, so you want to take Superdraw, one of the most potent orals that you can possibly take in bodybuilding. This is not a beginner-friendly option, so don't even think about taking this if you are new. This is a very toxic, harsh oral. However, you can get some pretty solid fucking gains if you deploy this properly in the right context. I'm going to be breaking this compound down from A to Z in this video, all the pros and cons, so stick around if you want to learn more about Superdrol. Now to start out here, what is Superdrol? It is a designer oral, okay? This is a pro-hormone that turned into an anabolic compound. Medically, it was not used ever for humans. So this compound was not actually designed for humans, not manufactured for humans. That's what makes it a little more risky to take. And again, it's very toxic and harsh, which we will go into in the side effect point of this video. However, it was not designed for humans. So that makes this compound risky in itself. You should keep that in mind and understand that this was never designed or deployed for any human use medically. Now, the compound is also chemically related to Methasterone, but it's way stronger. It's also methylated, so keep that shit in mind taking the compound. Mainly in a bodybuilding context, you're going to use this shit for massive size and strength. It will massively boost your strength, very similar to halo testing. Size will also go through the roof, but that is going to be a lot of water bloat and just fluff weight on your frame, but it will definitely size you the fuck up quick. Now, mainly you'd use this as a kickstart or during that first beginner part of that bulk stack or that strength stack, whatever you're trying to use the compound for. If you're using it as a power lifter or do pack size, you'd use it as a kickstart, or you just take a mini blast on the compound. This is not something that you run past 3 to 4 weeks. We'll break that down in a bit. It will give you that very blocky type build, that bulky fucking power lifter look. Now, mainly in a bodybuilding context, you would use this compound for massive strength, aggression, and to get that mass quick. Keep in mind, you're not gonna pack a shit ton of size on the compound. A lot of it, if you're looking at the scale, is going to be fluff weight, water bloat. You will get very bloaty taking the compound, which can give you that blocky look. If you hear someone say that you're gonna get a blocky build, it's just that bloated powerlifter type look, okay? You will get that taking this compound. This is something to be used as a kickstart or for a mini blast. You don't take this for a long duration of time. Typically, you deploy it during that beginning part of the bulk or for the strength stack if you are a powerlifter. Amazing fucking compound, but you would deploy it as a kickstart. You do not want to take this compound for a long period of time. We'll break that down in a second, but you don't ever push this for a long period of time. It's definitely a compound to utilize in very short spurts to avoid that toxicity. Now, typically for dosage, you're going to take anywhere from 10 to 30 milligrams a day. If you are starting out, if you're more advanced, for a short period of time, you could take upwards of 40 to 80 milligrams a day. I've seen people take 100. That's on the very extreme end. You'll never take anywhere close to that. Typically, it's going to be 10 to 30 milligrams a day taking Superdrol. Now, you definitely want to take this for 3 to 4 weeks max. Your liver literally won't be able to handle anything past a month. So I've seen people try, I've seen people that love the compound, that react well to it, try to push it past that 4-week mark. It just does not work in their favor at all. They're either forced to come off or they just feel like absolute dog shit to the point where they cannot function normally like an active optimal male. So you have to keep in mind that you will push this for 3 to 4 weeks max. In many cases, you only push it for a week or two during that kickstart phase, but you never push this past a month just because of that liver toxicity. Now, here are the pros of Superdrol. This is why the compound's insane. You can easily pack on 15 to 25 pounds of weight within the first 2 to 4 weeks taking the compound. It will give you that full bloated look, okay? Some people like the bloated look, some people don't, but if you like that full fucking like roided out, stereotypical roided out dude look, this compound will give it to you very quick. A lot of it will be lean mass, but again, the majority will be water bloat. You get a lot of bloat taking the compound. Similar to D-ball, you will bloat the fuck up taking this compound. Your strength also will massively explode. Sometimes 50 to 100 pounds on your big lifts, your compound lifts, deadlift, squat, bench can easily go up 50 to 100 pounds within that 3 to 4 weeks. Easily. I mean, this is very common to see taking the compound. If you're taking it anywhere from 10 to 30 milligrams a day, you can easily see your compound lifts increase at a drastic rate very fucking quick. Like, that's very common to see with this compound, and that's why a lot of powerlifters love it. You also get that fuller, rounder look. In terms of your muscles, you'll get absolutely insane pumps, crazy pumps. Very crazy pump, similar to Cialis, but better. Your skin will literally feel like it's about ready to explode. Your muscles will feel like they're about to rip off your skin. The pumps are insane taking this compound, okay? You also will get zero estrogen conversion on Superdrol. So you're not gonna run into that gyno risk, you're not gonna run into that hormone instability, those mental sides. You will still run into the bloating risk, but not because of estrogen, okay? So that is a pro taking the compound. Now also your appetite can spike taking Superdrol. Can be rare, but if you don't run into liver toxicity effect from the compound, which the majority of people will, then you can get that appetite spike, which is excellent during a bulk. What are you trying to do during a bulk? You're trying to eat the most amount of food possible to pack on the most amount of size you can in the off season, or just while trying to pack size as a recreational user. So that can be a pro if you don't run into the liver toxicity, which is 99% of people are going to run into that shit running this compound, which will suppress appetite. But if you're looking at the compound at a compound standpoint, you can run into that appetite spike, which is definitely a pro. Now, also, if you want to consider this a pro, this is one of the most powerful orals that you can possibly take alongside Halo, alongside M-Trend. This is a very potent compound. That is definitely a pro, okay? If you are trying to get to that extreme, freaky fucking look, you most likely will end up deploying Superdrol at some point during your enhancement career. That is another pro. That is one of the most powerful orals ever created. However, this is going to be the sides that you might run into on this compound. The first being the liver toxicity. This compound is extremely liver toxic, okay? The hepatotoxicity you'll get taking Superdrol is like none other, okay? It's right there alongside Halo. Your enzymes will skyrocket. AST, ALT, alkaline phosphatase will absolutely increase. Even if you're not prone to liver toxicity, if you can handle orals properly and you can take large amounts of orals and be fine, you will still run into this. There's no way that you're bypassing the liver toxicity from Superdrol. It will happen to 100% of people taking the compound. Even at low doses, this compound is so harsh on your liver, and that's what makes it one of the biggest cons, that liver toxicity, because you can easily run into liver damage taking the compound. If you take it for over 4 weeks, it's easy to run into damage. So you have to be mindful of that liver toxicity effect taking the compound. Jaundice is very common taking this, especially if you take it 3 to 4 weeks. You can start getting that yellowish tone to your skin. Jaundice is a sign of liver damage and your enzymes are skyrocketing through the roof. You don't want to run into this. That is a telltale sign that you are damaging the fuck out of your liver. And inevitably, if you don't come off, you can run into liver failure over time with prolonged use. So you have to be mindful of the liver toxicity effects from this compound. Lethargy can also hit fatigue, okay, because of that liver toxicity. So fatigue is a common side that you'll hear people talk about while taking Superdrol, myself included, majority of my clients, everyone I know in the space. They will all get some type of fatigue taking the compound. It is one of the most common sides, and that is because of the liver hepatotoxicity, okay? Because of that, your body is literally working in overdrive 24/7 just to be able to process the compound. That will put you in a state of fatigue and lethargy, and that sucks if you're trying to just perform normally as a male, go through your life, work, do your fucking job so that you can have a roof over your head. Kate, makes it difficult to do this shit. So you have to be mindful of that taking Superdrol. Now, another con is the pumps. As I mentioned, this could be a pro, okay? But the pumps can get so fucking crazy to the point where it actually hurts, okay? Like back pumps, your fucking shins can get pumped, like everything will get pumped, and it can feel crippling after a massive, very intense training session. It can get to that point where you're driving home and you're like, you can't fucking sit right. And even afterwards, like 2 to 3 hours after the pump, it will still hurt. That can be a con. It's just going to be an inconvenience, okay? During the workout, you're going to feel like a god. It's going to feel excellent. But after, it's like, can get pretty fucking bad. So you do have to be mindful of that if you are prone or sensitive to elevated pumps or pain during pumps, during massive pumps. You have to be mindful of that shit too, because this will give you insane fucking pumps. Now your BP can also go nuclear. I mean, this shit can sometimes double, which is very bad. Your cardiovascular system can get strained. You can also run into stroke risk taking the compound. You have to be mindful and have a BP cuff on hand at all times. You have to be checking this daily. Every time you wake up, you want to be checking your BP directly out of bed. That will give you the most accurate readings for your blood pressure. You have to know that your BP will definitely increase. For 95% of users, you will get that elevated blood pressure taking the compound. It's just part of the game. So you have to ensure that this is always in range. Make sure you have your prevention in place, or just take a very low dose. You should do this regardless to know how your body's going to react to it, if your BP is going to increase. If you take a very high dose off the rip, I have seen this before, that your BP can double. So if it's at like 120 over 80, it can legit go to 240 over 160 very quick within a week. So you have to understand that you most definitely will run into some type of blood pressure effect from the compound, whether it's light or massive. You definitely can run into this. Your cardiovascular system will take a massive hit. HDL cholesterol can absolutely fucking tank to single digits. This is another massive con for the compound, especially taken in a prolonged period of time. You don't want that cardiovascular strain on top of all the other stress, the blood pressure stress, the liver stress. It's just added stress that you don't want to be running into simultaneously, because that will cause problems. Now, after week 3, your appetite can get completely suppressed. So you can get your appetite absolutely shut down due to the liver toxicity. So as I mentioned in the pros, you can run into appetite stimulation. You can get a spike of appetite. But with prolonged use, because it's hepatotoxic on your liver, your appetite can actually shut off. It can have the exact opposite effect on why you want to take it if you're taking it for the appetite stim, which you shouldn't be taking it for. But your appetite can get shut the fuck down. And that is due to that liver toxicity. After that week 3 to 4 point, you will begin to notice the massive suppression. And that can be very counterproductive to your goals if you're trying to use this during an off season, during a bulk. That it can be a massive con, so keep that in mind. Now, shutdown is also fucking brutal. This compound is so suppressive. Your test, your free test, your LH, your FSH will tank taking this compound. So your PCT or cruise has to be dialed in. The blueprint has to be set before you even take the compound. It is one of the most massively suppressive compounds out there alongside Tren. It will shut you the fuck down. So be mindful of this if you're trying to preserve your fertility. If you don't want to take tests for the rest of your life, you have to understand that this compound will put you at massive risk of that. So be mindful of this shit. It is massively suppressive. You can also run into headaches, yellow eyes, and nosebleeds. The nosebleeds being from BP, the yellow eyes from that jaundice, the liver toxicity, and headaches just in general from everything simultaneously hitting you at once. That cardiovascular strain, the blood pressure, the liver toxicity. If you notice this shit, get off, okay? I see people sometimes that just try to push through it. They're like, pain is gain, pain is gain, keep pushing past the fucking pain. It's like, if you're running into headaches, if your eyes are fucking yellow and you're bleeding through your nose, something's going massively wrong. This is a major con, and this can be caused due to that toxicity and all that shit simultaneously hitting you at once. If this happens, just come off. It's very simple. Come off, get your labs done, get everything back into range. And if you're running into this, you probably shouldn't be taking the compound. That means that you're sensitive to the compound and the sides that arise from this shit. So you definitely should not proceed to take it past this and try to push through the fucking pain. Just don't do it. Come off, get your labs, make sure everything's in range, and you'll be good. Now, who's this compound best for? It's best for people with immaculate labs, okay? You're already deep into your enhancement game. You've taken 2 to 3 blasts in the past. These are the people that will have a good time on the compound, or at least experience some of the benefits. This is a very rare compound you'll take. It is a great one if you are advanced for specific use cases, but if you have immaculate bloods, like everything's in range, there isn't anything that's even slightly off, you'll be in a very, very good situation to take this, as opposed to someone who doesn't have that shit in check. If even something is off on your labs, I would not suggest taking this compound. Everything has to be pitch perfect, and then you'll be in a good position to take it. Also, if you're trying to get that kickstart on a bulk or during an off season, this is an excellent compound, again, for advanced users. That is some of the best use cases I've seen taking the compound. You don't want to take this if you are planning to take it for a long period of time. This is specifically for a kickstart or for a short spurt to get that strength, to get that fullness for a powerlifting meet or some shit, whatever it's for. It's best as a kickstart or for a short spurt. Also really good for powerlifters, okay, to chase that size, that fucking aggression fast. All right, very similar to Halo, but not Halo. We'll go into that compound in another fucking video, but this will give you that crazy aggression and strength very quick. Okay, within a week, you're already pumping out new PRs. Within 2 to 3 weeks, you've probably increased 50 to 100 pounds on your goddamn compound lifts. So If you are a powerlifter, this compound is probably going to be in your best interest to keep in your arsenal for specific use cases. That is specifically powerlifters will have the best time taking this shit while on top of their labs, while being an advanced user. So to give a brief overview of this compound, this is the nuclear bomb orals. I mean, this shit is really an insane compound that you will only deploy for that strength, for that aggression, for that kickstart of a bulk if you are advanced. Besides that, it really doesn't have a use for a recreational user's arsenal. I would actually not advise taking this as a recreational user if you're just trying to get like a quick physique, or you're trying to get a lean aesthetic look, or you just want to pack on 10 to 20 more pounds of mass. I probably wouldn't even have this in your arsenal. This is for advanced extreme use cases. If you are doing this shit long term, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're a powerlifter, this is when this compound would fucking shine for you. If you're on top of your labs, if you're not genetically sensitive to some of the sides I mentioned prior, that's when this compound would be excellent. But for 99% of people, you just shouldn't touch the shit, okay? I don't use Superdrol ever. I've used it 3 times in the past, and I did have crazy results. But I ran into all the sides I just mentioned, okay? Liver failure, or liver fucking, okay. My liver didn't fail, okay? Liver damage, all right? My liver was absolutely getting damaged. I definitely ran into crazy liver hepatotoxicity, fatigue, lethargy. I would wake up and it would be hard for me to get out of bed. I would be just like pulling myself to get to my next lift, and I would absolutely kill it. You feel like a god in the gym, but right out of the gym, you feel like shit and you just can't operate normally, which is why I won't deploy this again. For my powerlifter clients specifically, they do have this as a part of their protocol for specific use cases for very advanced clients of mine. But typically you're not going to take this stuff. So be mindful of it, be aware of the sides. If you do fit that category of extreme bodybuilder or a powerlifter, it could definitely be in your benefit to have this in your arsenal at specific use cases. But besides that, don't touch the shit. If you guys like this breakdown, like and subscribe. Comment the next compound you want me to go over. I will film that today, drop it tomorrow. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.